Hello, it's me, your local non-binary witch, and I want to talk about personal gnosis, substantiated and unsubstantiated, or verified and unverified. So, when you have an insight about a deity or a seasonal festival or some aspect of spirituality, but and maybe it's a communication from a deity, but it hasn't been recorded before, or you don't know that it's been recorded before, then that is known as unverified personal gnosis. Now, this came from the polytheist community originally, and they used it to say, okay, so you've had this insight or this communication from this deity, but it doesn't ring true for me. But if it rings true for you, that's your personal gnosis. So your personal spiritually inspired knowledge. So that type of personal gnosis was called unverified. If at a later date you manage to go, oh, I found in a book that somebody else thinks that Odin's hat is purple or whatever it happens to be, then that becomes a verified personal gnosis or a substantiated personal gnosis because you've substantiated it from the lore, not law. And I actually know of a really cool example of this where a friend of mine was doing a visualization involving the moon, and she got kangaroos, and everybody looked at her funny when she said that there were kangaroos in her visualization. So what's that got to do with the moon? Anyway, it turned out that in fact kangaroos are associated with the moon in Indigenous Australian mythology, or one particular First Nations mythology. Anyway, sorry, I don't know which one. Anyway, so that became, from an unverified personal gnosis, that became a verified personal gnosis. So if your personal gnosis of the goddess Eostre is that she likes rabbits and hares and eggs, that's perfectly valid. But there is no ancient lore, nothing earlier than the folkloristic back formations, also known as fake lore, from the 19th century to substantiate that for you. So your unverified personal gnosis is perfectly valid as personal gnosis, but don't expect everybody to go, oh yes, that's how I see it too, because they might not see it that way. And there's nothing wrong with your personal gnosis, but don't go claiming it's ancient if it's not. So I think the notion of verified and unverified personal gnosis is really helpful, because it advances the lore, right? It advances our knowledge of the gods. And let's face it, back in the day when the first person went to talk to the trees and encountered a deity, whatever, their gnosis about that deity that they were communicating with was also unsubstantiated. And so please see my previous video about why history matters. But, there's nothing wrong with an unsubstantiated personal gnosis. Where it's wrong is if we then go and claim that it's ancient when it's not, because that makes us look silly. So hope that helps to clarify the difference between substantiated and unsubstantiated personal gnosis, and kudos to the heathen and polytheist communities for coming up with the concept, and maybe we could all use it when we want to talk about these things, because people get really upset if you say, I don't agree with your view, or that's not historical or whatever, because they go, yes, but my personal experience is that this deity is like this. And it's like, well, great, that There's absolutely nothing wrong with your personal experience, but there is no historical record to back it up. So anyway, hope that clears that up. Have a nice day, and blessed be.